Okay, so thank you for joining us on time for this session. And before we always get started with the nitty-gritties on what the session is about, I'd like to maybe call on a few of us to tell us how they're doing or where they're joining us from and what they're expecting for this session. So brace yourself, I usually pick on anyone. So I'd like to call on, who has the microphone off? Okay, Regan, Mwangi. Regan has his mic on, but I can pick on someone else. Florence, maybe we can hear from you. Where are you joining us from and what are your expectations for the session?
What is she talking about?
Hello, Florence.
From Uganda, Kampala. So I'm waiting to hear about the Umojahack something. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I think Florence is fairly new to our space, so we'll orient you on what Umojahack is about, but thank you for joining. Maybe I can hear from one last person, John.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
How are you?
I'm fine.
I am John from Mozambique.
Awesome. What are your expectations for the session?
Yeah, I believe that it will be a good thing. And I think that I will learn more in this hackathon. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I think we'll just get started because we have a whole lot of things to share with you today. But thank you so much for joining us on time for this session. And without further ado, just you can mute in case. Please mute your mic. Yeah, so that you avoid the background noises. Anyway, so we can get started. So thank you for joining us for this webinar. So my name is Rose Delilah Gisicho, and I am the community coordinator at Zindi. And here we build AI together. So that's our main vision and goal for our data science communities in Africa. And Zindi is a professional network for data scientists whose mission is to mobilize a vibrant community of data scientists across Africa, solving region's most pressing problems. And obviously that would mean also worldwide problems. So that's our goal and our motto. And I wanted us to first have like a bit of a recap on what Umojahack is, because I know we have some new people here, people who haven't interacted with Umojahack before. So Umojahack is a hackathon that happens within universities across Africa, which happens in 2 days. And we have like speakers and competitions, which consist of beginner-friendly competitions, intermediate and advanced challenges. And I'm going to share this link on the chat so that you can watch how the previous Umojahack 2022 was. It was really amazing. We had an amazing time. We had roving reporters from across Africa telling us what they're working on and the excitement they had. And I hope that it will be something insightful that we get into this year, because it's an annual hackathon and it helps you learn a lot, interact with people, create teams, and again, win amazing cash prizes and build your skills in data science. So yeah, that is Umojahack for you. I'll just send you the videos. Okay, yes, I'll just end the video. So the housekeeping is participate in discussions. That is when we have our panel discussion. Feel free to ask questions. We have an amazing panel that will be joining us. That is 2022 winners of the Umojahack. So that's exciting. Mute when you're not speaking to avoid background noises, and use the chat section to drop your questions and interact amongst each other. And for the agenda of the day, we have an introduction for 5 minutes. I'll just introduce Amy to give us a brief entail or about Umojahack and generally introduce. Darius will take us through the practical tutorial, which will take 30 minutes. And then you can have the questions, the technical questions. Then we'll have a panel discussion for 30 minutes where we'll have the 2022 winners of the Umojahack joining us. And then we'll conclude and we'll give you an opportunity to sign up, not only for Umojahack, but our big and our amazing Zindi community that we have just started. And hopefully you'll interact with more people within the audience. So without further ado, Amy, are you here?
Hi, I'm going to start sharing my screen. I'm quickly going to mute everyone. Unmute, yeah. Hi, my name is Amy. I'm a data scientist at Zindi, and I help set up the competitions with Darius. So I'm going to walk you through the platform, show you where to find the beginner challenges. Because I'm already signed in, this button says compete, but if you don't have a Zindi account yet, you can click on this button that will say sign up. Once you have logged in and confirmed your email address, you can either click compete here or compete over here. Our first page has our competitions, which have our big prize monies, which is quite exciting. If you scroll down probably 5 competitions, you'll see that we've set up practice, beginner, intermediate, and advanced challenges. It's a bit of a hint at what's to come. Darius has just finished preparing the data for the beginner challenge, and I've just uploaded it to our backend. And this beginner challenge, it's got some useful hints in it. On the day of Umojahack, you're going to click compete, and you're going to go to the hackathons. Underneath the hackathons, you'll be able to see the Umojahack challenges. They're not there yet, but they will be there. Darius is going to show you how to run a piece of Python code and how to make your first submission on the platform. I'm going to show you where to find this beginner piece of code and what a challenge looks like. When you join Zindi, you'll see that there's this big banner over here called the tutorial challenge. You're going to click on that. And this, I've already joined, but normally the submit button says join. You're going to click on that, and then you're in the challenge. If this is your first challenge, you can read this article on how to enter your first challenge. If you are a French speaker, you can view this challenge in French over here. This challenge asks us to predict who in Africa is most likely to have a bank account. We're looking at users from Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Uganda. And the data was collected from a FinScope survey that was done in 2016 to 2018. The evaluation metric is mean absolute error, where 1 indicates that they do have a bank account and 0 indicates that they do not. This competition is only for knowledge, but the Umojahack challenges, rumor has it that there's $10,000 for prizes. And there will be country prizes. So if you're not, just aim to be the best in your country and you'll be certain to get a prize. For every challenge, even if you don't win the prize money, you still win Zindi points. And you can read more about Zindi points in this link over here. This challenge doesn't close, but underneath timeline on the Umojahack hackathons, you'll see the agenda for the day. If I have gone through this too quickly and you need a bit of a refresher, we do have 3 videos that show you how to enroll in your first competition, how to create a team, and how to update your profile. How to update your profile is really important, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. Once you have logged in, you're going to go to your top right. You're going to click Edit Your Profile. Please make sure that your email address is the email address you use most commonly. Your name and surname, the country you're in. This is very important. If you are going to win a country prize, we need to know where you are. You also need to click My Career and scroll down to your education. Underneath your education, you're going to put the university you are currently registered in and make sure to click Save. You're then going to go back to your profile and click your workplace or university to be your university. This is very important to make sure that we know where you're from and that we don't disqualify you by mistake. And remember to click Save. I'm going to go back to this challenge. Just to remind you, it's to determine if someone has a bank account or not. You can go through the description, evaluation, prizes, timeline, these how to get started videos if you need more help. Over here we have the data. This will be very similar to the data for the Umojahack section. It will describe the data and it will explain the test and train split. If those words are confusing, don't worry, we all started somewhere. And just post on the discussion board for someone to explain it to you. I personally enjoy using Colab. Colab is a Google product and it allows you to run Python notebooks on Google. So if you don't have Anaconda or Python on your local machine, you can still participate in Umojahacks. And these are videos just to show you how to open up a Colab notebook, and Darius will also show you how to do that. Over here we have the data files. So this is the train file. So the train contains the target. Normally, if we're looking at a CSV file or an Excel file, your target is your last column, and that is what you're predicting. In this instance, it's whether you have a bank account or not. Next, you have your test file. Test resembles train, but it doesn't have that target related column. So that would be if you have a bank account or not. We have a variable definitions file that will explain all the variables. We also have a sample submission file, just to show you what to submit. If you're ever nervous or don't know what to submit, I recommend downloading the starter note for the sample submission by clicking this button and clicking submit. Here is the starter notebook. I'm going to see. Ooh. So thankfully this downloaded nicely for me. Sometimes it acts a bit weird and it opens into a very scary screen. Don't be scared. All you need to do is do Control S or Command S and it will download to your download folder and you can find it there. Just a reminder, we all started somewhere. So please use the discussion board to ask for help or recommendations. If you are a level up data scientist, please remember to help people below you. You can ask about notebooks, ask for help, ask about the data, make a comment on the platform or Colab if you need help. If you're just looking to connect and make friends, or if you've got a career-specific question, you can use these tabs. If you'd like, you can create a team. This is my team, thebomb.com. You can invite up to 4 members. Please remember to read the team rules. And finally, the most important page is the leaderboard. I've already made a submission to this competition. That's why I'm 349th. One day I might improve, but we'll see about that. And you can see everyone else that you need to beat for this challenge. I'm going to hand over to Darius now, who's going to show you how to open the starter notebook and how to get ready for the challenge. I will be keeping my eye on the Zoom chat if you've got any questions. Over to you, Darius. Oh, we've got a question from Klein. Are we free to use any algorithm to solve this problem? You can use any algorithm. You can use pre-trained models, you can use neural nets, decision trees. You can even solve it in Excel if you wanted to. The only restrictions is that you use open source and free software. So that means either working in Python or working in R. Please don't work in MATLAB. For MATLAB, you actually need to purchase the MATLAB software. Another thing we request that you don't do is use your credit card to purchase a pre-trained model. It's very unlikely that you will because they're very hard to find and there's so many free options. But Klein, you can go wild, and if you can solve it, you win. Over to you, Darius.
Thanks, Amy. So my name is Darius Moruri. I'm also a data scientist at Zindi. I'm usually involved in preparing data for competitions and also reviewing solutions from our users. So today I've prepared a starter notebook for a practice challenge. I'll take you through on how to prepare data, how to build a simple model, and how to make a submission to Zindi. Let me share my screen, just a second. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So welcome. I'll be taking through this challenge, the financial inclusion challenge. What we'll be covering is some few basics, like loading the data, doing a simple exploratory data analysis, pre-processing the data for modeling, creating a simple model, making a submission to Zindi, and then also I'll share some tips on how you can improve your score. So I'm using Python, but you're free to use R, I think, yeah. So in Python, some of the libraries that we'll be using include pandas and NumPy. That's for data wrangling and manipulation. And then when it comes to representing the data and building a model, we'll be using the large GBM and the sklearn. I will be using Colab. These are free resources from Google. You're free to use your own machine, like a Jupyter Notebook or Jupyter Lab or VS Code if you will, but we prefer using Jupyter Notebooks for data scientists because you can run a cell and then see the output immediately. So in the competition, you'll be provided with 4 files. They can be more or they can be less, but mostly they'll contain the training data set, the test, a sample submission file, and also a variable definition file. So the train set or the train file is what you use to create your model or to train your model on. And then the test is what you're supposed to gauge how your model is performing. The sample submission file is to guide you on how to create a file for you to load to Zindi, and then it will be scored in our backend for you to be ranked on the leaderboard. The variable definitions file, it will help you in defining what the columns are or the variables are. So in this case, we can also check the shape of our data sets. We can see that a train data set has about 23,000 data points, and then the test has around 10,000. We have 13 variables in the train data set and then 12 in the test. The difference of 1 here is because of the target variable. In the training data set, we have the target variable, but in the test, we have removed it. So that's what we are supposed to predict on, and then create a submission file, load it to Zindi, and then you'll be scored and ranked on the leaderboard. So if we take a look here for the first 5 rows of the training data set, we can see that some of the variables include country, year, unique ID, bank account. So in this case, the bank account is the target that you are supposed to predict. So by just looking at this, you can see that these are classification task. So you are supposed to use these other variables to try and predict whether someone has a bank account or not. So you can use like the location type, whether they're in the rural areas or on the urban, plus whether they have a cell phone access or not, their household size. So by just using this information, can you be able to predict whether someone has a bank account or not? So that's our main objective. So a good thing when you're starting off building or planning for building a model, the first thing you're supposed to do is understand the data, dig deep, do some exploratory data analysis. In this case, some of the things we can do is like checking for missing values. So we can use train.isnull.sum to check whether the columns or the variables have any missing values. Good thing for us, we don't have any missing values. I think this is because this is a beginner challenge. But if there were missing values, there are some techniques that you can use to counter that. The next part is you can explore the target variable, which is the bank account. So in this case, we can see that this data is quite imbalanced. By just looking at this graph, we can see that majority of people don't have a bank account, but then the minority have. So this is a challenge for our modeling, because if we input this data as it is to our models, it might assume or learn more patterns on the no side of the target. So you are supposed to use some techniques, do some research on how to handle imbalanced data sets. Then we can also see how the sample submission file looks like. So this is the file that you'll use to upload to Zindi for you to be scored. So it has a unique ID and then the target variable, which is bank account. So for this unique ID, you are supposed to, for this unique person, you're supposed to predict whether they have a bank account or not. So you have to ensure that the columns are in this order, starting from the unique ID and then bank account. But for the rows, you can mix them up. They don't affect the scoring, but make sure that the columns are ordered this way, starting from the ID and then the target variable. So if you can look into the training data set, there's some information we can deduce. We can see that the training data set has like 12. This is 13 because in Python we start counting at 0. So these are 13 variables. There's no missing values. And then we can see the data types, like for the country, it's an object, the year is an integer, and so on and so forth. So for efficiency, you are supposed to change these data types to their appropriate type. So for example, here, the bank account, it was like a yes and no. When it comes to building machine learning models or to computers, they understand ones and zeros, so they don't understand strings. So when modeling, you have to change these strings to numericals. All these are where you can change the data type to category to make sure that the model understands that the incoming variable is not numerical, but a category. Also, we can look at the variable definitions file. It has the explanations for each variable. It explains like what is the unique ID, which in this case is a unique identifier for each interviewee. If you can take this as an example. And then what else can we see? Some of these are self-explanatory. So we can move on to preparing the data and then modeling. Usually for data scientists, there are predefined steps on how to go about building machine learning models. So the first thing is building the training sets. In this case, Zindi we prepared the data sets for you, so you don't have to do that. But then when it comes to cleaning and organizing the data, this is where you come in. You have to do a thorough exploratory data analysis, see whether the data makes sense, if there are some variables that need cleaning, all those things. And then you also have to mine for patterns from the data. So for machine learning, it's the same as another computer program, if I can say that like that. Like if you give it garbage, it will give you garbage out. Like you understand the giggle, garbage in, garbage out. So when it comes to machine learning models, for you to improve the performance of your models, you have to ensure that you have done a very good feature engineering. You are feeding your model with good features that represent what the data is all about. Yeah. And then also you have to tune your models, do some parameter tuning to ensure that you get all the performance of your models. We can move on to reprocessing the data. So I'll be using the sklearn library in this case. From above, we saw that the target variable, it was in a string format or in categorical format with a yes or no. So we have to change that to 0 and 1. So 0 meaning they don't have a bank account, and 1 meaning that they do have a bank account. So you can use the label encoder in this case to transform that. So after transforming the target, we can see that it has 1s and 0s. Then we can move down a little bit. So from above here, at some point here, we saw that these variables have different data types, like the bank account, it's an object, but we have changed it to numerical or to an integer, which is nice. The location type, it's an object, but it's supposed to be a category. So for efficiency purposes, we have to change these data types to their appropriate data type. So that's what we'll be doing down here. So the variables, household size, age of respondent here, we can change this to float, the float data type. And then for categories, we have like the relationship with the head, marital status, all this. And then for others, like, so this is where your skills as a data scientist comes in. You have to know which variables I'm supposed to change to be categorical, or you have to one hot encode, or just to label encode. So one hot encoding means you create like a sparse matrix with 1 and then zeros for that category. But then for label encoding, it has to be like a sequence of numbers. An example I can say is for one hot encoding, you can do it for colors. So if you add like a variable called color, so for colors, you can one hot encode because they don't communicate rank. Like you can't say blue is greater than yellow, or yellow is less than maybe red. But then if you add a category like young and old, to some extent, those two variables have rank. Like a young person in terms of age is younger than an older person. So that's where you can use something like label encoding. So when it comes to doing this phase engineering, you are supposed to think outside the box, do some research, go out there and I hope you are hearing me. I can see that my audio is a bit off.
No, Darius, your audio is okay. I think he'll have to rejoin. Yes.
Oh, thanks. So I was talking about label encoding and one-hot encoding. So you have to do a bit of research and see what fits your current task at hand, what you're trying to do. So we can drop also the unique ID. We don't need it. We just need it for scoring. We don't use it for modeling. And then also we can see this to, into like the same scale. So that we don't have overfitting of our models. So of doing scaling, so we have to do research, do analysis of the data.
Hello.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, but I think we lost Darius.
Okay. Yeah, I think there was an interruption. We'll just give Darius a few minutes. Let me just check if everything's okay on that end. But in case you have any questions, please put them on the chat. And as he continues with the presentation, we can ask throughout. So I have gathered the one on machine learning. I think I'll forward it to Darius once he's back, and he'll be able to give you more guidance on how to get started and participate in the hackathon that's upcoming. So let's just give him. Okay, he's back. Darius? I think you're on mute. Darius, can you hear us? I think he dropped off again. Apologies for the technical issues. We'll just be back in a few.
Sorry, guys. I had some issues with my internet. I hope you can see my screen and hear me.
Yes.
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, thank you. I was talking about scaling. So you can scale your features depending whether they're skewed. So you have to do some analysis, know what skewness means, whether they're skewed to the right, to the left, how's the normal distribution. So you have to consider those things and then know which scaler you're supposed to use and how it can increase the performance of your models. So whatever you do for the training set, you have also to do the same for the test. So that also means that if we have like 10 features in the training data set, you must have also like 10 the test. They cannot be a mismatch. Otherwise, you create an error. So I process the training and then the test also. This is how the, the process data looks like. So you just take the first row. So if you can remember, the training data set had around 13 variables at the start. That was without doing any feature engineering. But then now after doing the feature engineering, the number of variables have increased from 13 to that 7. So this has increased because of some one-hot encoding. You know, like you can do some research and understand what one-hot encoding is if you don't know. And then now into the most favorite part, which is now modeling. So for modeling, you are supposed to split your data set, that's the train, into different sets. You should have like a training data set, evaluation data set, and then a test. So you can gauge on how your model performs locally before even you upload or predict on the test set, then upload to Zindi. So that's why you have to split the data here into a training and then a validation set with the test size being 10%. When it comes to modeling, there are quite a number of models depending on your task. Like we have k nearest neighbors. This mostly used in clustering. Like if you are doing a machine learning model trying to predict regions or areas, it's quite nice for that. We have a logistic regression. We have like the tree models, random forest, which is a tree-based model. Also, you can use XGBoost. There's even CatBoost. And then what else I can add is you are not limited to using only these models. You can use any other, so long as they are publicly available and anyone else can use them. So in this case, we want to use the XGB classifier. So we import the model, instantiate the model, and then fit the data. And then after doing that, we can see that we got an error rate of 0.11, which means that this model is around 89% accurate. But then when it comes to data that is imbalanced, if we look in details to the predictions, you get that the model predicts the overbalanced class in relation to the minority class. So from here, if we look at this confusion matrix, we can see that our model predicted with a high accuracy when the class is 0 or when someone doesn't have a bank account. This is because this is the majority class in the imbalanced data set. But then when we look at the minority class, which is someone has a bank account, we can see that it has an accuracy of 67%. So when you are modeling, even if we have the evaluation, the evaluation for this, the mean absolute error, you can use the confusion matrix, you can use the precision or the recall scores to just gauge how your model is performing. Some of the techniques we can use to improve the model include doing some parameter tuning. So we can use the grid search and then some parameters of the XGB model that you can tune, include like something like minimum child weight, you have gamma, maximum depth on, which means like how deep the tree will build in giving out the branches. So you should do some research on how best to tune to avoid something we call overfitting, where you get that your model performs very well locally or with the training data, but then when you bring in new data set, your model performs poorly. So a good model should generalize across the trained data set and the test data set. That's why when the competitions end, you get that someone who was ranked #1 in the public leaderboard can go low, maybe up to 10 or to 50. So you should be careful with overfitting. I've tested overfitting. There's a time I was like #1 on the leaderboard back when I was competing on the Zindi platform. But then when the private leaderboard came out, I was nowhere near even the top 50. So be careful with that. So after tuning the model, we can also check the scores. We can see that the error rate improved a bit from 0.11 to 0.10, which means this is working. So if it's working, you should maybe tune more parameters, do some more feature engineering, do some EDA, see what features you can create. So modeling is an iterative process. It's like a circle. You do EDA, create features, model, see the score, then go back, do it all many times. So at the end of the day, someone who has done more iterations, chances of creating a good model the chances are very high. So after creating a model, now we can make a submission to Zindi. So we can make predictions on the test set that was provided. And then after getting the predictions, you can create the submission file. Just make sure that it looks the same as the sample submission file. And then once you have done that, we can see here the submission file that we have created. You create a CSV file and then ensure that you indicate index equals to false. This to avoid errors in our backend. So ensure you include index equals to false. After creating submission file, you can download it and then go to Zindi. The competition, and then there's that submission button here that you can use to make a submission. So once you have downloaded the file, you just come and drop it here or choose it from your machine and then submit. After that, you'll be ranked on the Zindi leaderboard. So this is the public leaderboard, which includes approximately 30% of the test data. After the competitions ends, that's when you'll get the private leaderboard, which has like 70% of the data. and that's what will be used to give prices and give the final rankings. So if you have any questions regarding the competition, you are free to use our discussions platform here. You can see how, like, if you have a bug or something, like how to solve a name error in training tests, you can seek help or ask for help from other Indians who are ready and eager to help you. Yeah, so I hope you are ready for the Umojahack. I'm very excited for it, and see you on the leaderboards. Back to you. Is Amy around?
No, I think Amy had to drop off, but thank you so much, Darius. Does anyone have a question before Darius drops off, or before we wait for the Q&A session in general? You can raise your hand if you have like a technical question you'd like to ask Darius based on the presentation. Yes, the recording will be sent, will be uploaded on YouTube and will be sent after the event. Okay, so there are 2 hands that are raised. Okay, Peekaboo, usually we need to know why you're branded as that, but yes, we can guess that.
Oh, I wanted to ask if the recording will be made available, but you have answered the question, so okay.
Yes, okay, thank you. Henry? Okay, Henry,
It's
will follow up.
the same question I have with him.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Isaac.
Good evening,
I said it's
everyone.
the same question I had with the other guy.
Good evening, everyone. So I want to ask if the format for the submission should always be .csv format, or can we use IPYNV? Thank you.
Yeah, so yes, it has to be a CSV file. That's when you upload to Zindi. But then now, if you are one of the top 3 guys who have won like a prize, you have to share your notebook with us. We run through the notebook to make sure that your code runs and it produces the expected result or score. Yeah, so
thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I see there's a question on, okay, what are the techniques we can use to improve our model score, and why do 2 people use the same model and parameters and all get different scores? To you, Darius. Hello, did you hear my question? Darius, mic check. Okay.
I can hear you, Rose. I think we've lost Darius today.
Okay, cool. I think Darius is having, yes. Darius, are you able to speak?
yeah, sorry, my internet is today.
So, it's okay.
Yeah, for the number of submissions, it depends. If it's a normal competition, usually there's a limit of 10 submissions per day. But for hackathon, or like for Umojahack, like it runs through the weekend. So those are like 3 days. So we increase the limit from 10 to maybe 50, depending on our client. Yeah. Henry, sir, you have a question? Henry?
I think we responded to Henry. will just lower his hand. I'll just forward you 2 questions and then we can jump to the next session. But in case we have any other question, Darius will still be with us during the Q&A session. So you'll get to ask the questions there as you populate them. So I don't know if you answered this question on the techniques you can use to improve your model and why do 2 people use the same model and parameters and get different scores.
Okay, I'll start with the most simple one. Why do 2 people use the same model, same parameters, but get different scores? So so modeling has some randomness in it. There's something we call stochasticity. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Like when you're building a model, the way the trees or the model works, it starts from random numbers at first, and then you start to build on that as it increases performance. So that's why 2 people can use the same parameters and the same model, but get different answers. So what we encourage our users to do is you have to create like a seed, or if you don't know what a seed is something that if you run through your notebook, you're trying to get a random number in your notebook, you run it like twice. If you set a seed, you always get the same number. So when modeling, you're supposed to set a seed so that your score, you get the same score every time you run your notebook. Then how to improve the performance of your model. So there are various techniques. It all boils down to understanding the data, doing a thorough EDA, creating machine very good features. You understand, like garbage in, garbage out. So you have to go through the data, see how you can improve the categories, how you can create new features from the categories. If the data is skewed, how to normalize it, whether a tree-based model is good versus a linear model or a deep learning model. So all those things. So the good thing is try, see whether it works. If it works, double down on that. If it doesn't work, go back to the drawing board and then come up with a new idea. So it's like an iteration process. I hope I've answered your question.
I think it was sufficiently answered. Thank you so much, Darius, for the presentation. I hope you guys have noted down. Darius was, when he used to participate, he used to be the number, I think the 2nd place or the 1st place around there. So I hope you have taken notes on the bits and pieces he has shared, because they're very important to help you put your name on the map, so, or on the leaderboard. So I think without further ado, we'll jump into the next session where we'll be having our panel discussion. So I'll just check in if our speakers are here and then we can get started. So I think Victor is here. We have Lawrence. They'll introduce themselves and what they currently do before we get started. And Dancing. Yes, I think he's here. So yeah, we'll be having our panel discussion. For the questions that haven't been answered, we are going to have them during the panel. You might find them within the panel, and then we can have a random Q&A afterwards. So yes, I think, yeah, we are ready for our panel discussion. So yes, as we mentioned, we have the winners of 2022. Okay, last year's winners for the Umojahack here with us. And I would like to bring out Victor to tell us what he currently does and just introduce himself and which hackathon he took part in and what position he got. So yes, Victor, welcome.
Hi guys, my name is Victor. I'm currently a student at the university in Nigeria, Bafemi Awolowo University. And yeah, for last year, Umojahack, we awarded 2nd place for Actually won. I actually won 2 competitions anyway, but we are awarded, for 1 place, and that's the insurance prediction. Right? Yeah, insurance prediction for last year.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Victor. I'll have Danson.
Hi, good day,
Hello.
good day everyone. My name is Oluwadunsin Fajemila, and I'm happy to be here. So some of the things we've done. So we participated in the intermediate challenge last year, and then we placed second. I and Victor were actually in the same team, so we placed second in the intermediate challenge, which is financial. Yeah.
Okay.
The insurance.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know if it's my network, but okay, thank you so much, Danson. So he mentioned that he also participated. Now we have 2 team members. So in case you are thinking about joining a team, I think they'll be in a better position to tell us their tips and tricks on working in a team and winning a competition or winning twice in different competitions, or yeah, becoming top 3. So we have, last but not least, Lawrence.
Hi everyone. So my name is Lawrence. So last year I won the intermediate hackathon. So currently what I'm doing, so I currently work as a data scientist on the e-commerce platform. So currently I'm based in Nairobi, but I'm working with Jumia, which is based in Egypt.
Oh, cool. Thank you so much, Lawrence. To see you in a different country, but so I'll just start passing questions around, but if you have questions you can place them on the chat and then we'll get to it. So yeah, so I just wanted to get started maybe with you, Lawrence. Was this your first hackathon to win, or have you been participating in different hackathons and that gave you a push to the Umojahack Hackathon and participating in it?
Yes, definitely. This wasn't my first hackathon. So previously I had participated in a couple of hackathons and competitions before. So actually I began my competing while I was in third year in 2018, I think. In 2018, so I've participated in a couple of like physical hackathons in Nairobi, and prior to like this hackathon, I'd also participated in several other hackathons, and as well also on Umojahack. I think I had participated, I think, to the previous 2 Umojahacks that I had already taken place.
Awesome. Thank you. And did you win in all of them, or this was a good one for you?
I think in all of them, I think I've finished. The first one, I think I was the second or the first, but I think in all of them I've finished like top 10, I think.
Oh, awesome. Great. So you see, practice makes perfect. Thank you, Lawrence. We can go to you, Victor. So what did you do to prepare for the hackathon, given that you mentioned you and your team won twice or became top 3 twice in 2 hackathons?
Yeah, so for preparation before the hackathon, what I did was, do a brief run through of, the hackathons are always, before the hackathon date itself, the challenge is already there. So kind of, what you're expecting, but you can't access the data. And so what I, usually do prior to the start of the hackathon is to, do a walkthrough through past winners, look at, their solution, what actually, made the difference for them, look at some of their strategies. And yeah, that's basically what I do, a few hours or a few days, to the Umojahack Hackathon.
Oh, cool. So you just go back and see what other tricks and tips other winners did, and then you prep on that.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Take tips, take tips. Dancing, what about you?
Okay, usually I try to understand what the competition is about. Then understanding the problem statement will inform my decision to understanding the domain, because the data sets have their own domain. So I try to make research on, okay, this particular domain, so that by the time I'm modeling, it will inform my decision-making process. And also look at past competitions and that are similar to this particular domain, and understand how modeling was done and feature engineering. Yeah, that's all.
Oh, cool. I hope you guys have heard that. So also understanding the domain and the problem statements help a lot, as much as you're also looking at other past competitions and how they were done. So thank you so much for those tips. So I'm about to get into the technical bit, because again, it's a hackathon. People need to understand, like maybe, as Daya said, garbage in, garbage out. How do we pre-process the data? And then maybe what are you kind of unique? I won't tell me the unique, because I don't know if you're participating in 2023, but tell us some of the processes that you take once you get a dirty data set or an imbalanced data. Like, how do you go about it if one of the data sets happen to look like that? So I will start with Lauren.
Okay, yeah, definitely this year I'm going to be participating.
Yeah.
So Darius has already like went through like a couple of steps, or like the procedure that one follows to solve any data science problem. On my side, so every time I have like a problem, so the first thing I try to do is I try to try to build a model with all the possible features that are already provided, just like to have like a benchmark and see what improvements I can make from that. So the first thing I usually do is take all the possible features, apart from, like, for example, the IDs, like all the possible features that can be used to build a model, and try to have like a baseline model that I can use. And then from there, now that's when I start now doing like the several other steps. So one of the key steps is having like a good validation strategy. So for the validation strategy here, it's going to enable you like to see, for example, like your validation strategy is like a way that is going to tell you how you are performing. So the way that I usually set up my validation strategy is, you should have like your validation strategy should like mimic the train test split, like the way Zindi has done it. So if, for example, like in the way Zindi, usually like Zindi provide like the training data and also the testing data. So if the test, if the split is based on time, then you should definitely have like a validation strategy that respects like the component of time. So another thing is like feature engineering. So this is actually what also like makes a huge difference, because after all, like all of you are given like the same data, and then probably you might use like the same models, then you need to have like some uniqueness. So the way you do like feature engineering, so there's no like a given procedural step that you can use to do like feature engineering. So what you do is, based on like the idea that you do, then you might get like some insights. So these insights might like help you come up with like several features. So this is where like you need to think out of the box, come up with like some features which might be relevant. And now these features will like help you like get like some better performance. So that is like some of the things. And there are like a couple of things, for example, like ensembling, which I usually do like at the end. So after trying like all the possible ideas or a couple of models, then you can try to take like a few of your models and try to like ensemble their output. And also one of the things that another strategy that I usually do is, the first, I also like try to list like a couple of ideas that I think might be useful, and then try to work like on these ideas procedurally. And if an idea doesn't like give like a good result, then I try to like, I don't waste like so much time, because after all, like for example, for an hackathon, it's like, I think the first ones were like a day, and I think last year it was like 2 days. So if you have like a couple of ideas, for example 10 or 20, and you try like one of them, it doesn't work, then you don't need to stick with it. Otherwise you like spend so much time working on an idea that doesn't yield like fruit. So I try to have like a couple of ideas and then pick like a few of them which I think might be relevant and try to like advance on them. So I think that is like a few of the ideas that I usually follow.
Oh, cool. That's a bucket full of knowledge. Thank you so much, Lawrence. I was noting it down. Thank you for sharing those tips on pre-processing. Maybe I'll ask Victor and Danson if they have any more tips they'd like to share with us, the hidden secrets to winning.
I mean, Lawrence has basically like said almost all, or even not said it all. But yeah, sure, of course. One of the key things I think people usually forget is the metric itself, and the data, and that boils back down to what Johnson mentioned regards checking out the use case, right, and trying to understand what metric is being evaluated as the result. Right. And yeah, the conventional stuff, right? Use cross-validation techniques. Feature engineering as well, that brings out that uniqueness in your solution, and yeah, use robust models because as Darius has mentioned, you don't want to, lead the public and at the end of the day, fall below the top 10, right? So you want to use methods that, models that are robust and try as much as possible to stay away from overfitting your models. Yeah, I'll just stop there.
Thank you, Victor. Danson, anything to add on that?
Okay, so the data processing steps I usually follow first. Once you check the size of the data and then discover this is too large for my PC, I don't usually try to do the work on PC. I just use Google Colab. It's easy to work with data sets from there. Yeah, I will check for appliers, then understanding the target features like Darius mentioned is very important because it will affect the metric. So once you understand the target features, a lot of transformation that you can do that can help you to improve performance of modeling. And yeah, that's what I think it mentioned most of what I would have said.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for also mentioning on that. And yeah, I feel like those points are very valid. And if you work on them really well and do your research, I'm definitely sure you'll be among the toppings, ready to remove Victor and Lawrence and Danson from their position. So I think the next question is Victor's and Danson, because we are now advocating for people to work in teams. And I just want to know, like, how was the experience? Like, I don't know if you guys had conflict or like, how do you work together for a competition so that you're able to, each other's models input is put in mind when you're building the final solution? Like, how do you work around that?
I could probably go first. Yeah, so whenever we team up, because we teamed up for, I think, yeah, for Umojahack 2020 as well, and 2021 as well. And what we usually do every time is simple. We try to participate individually at first, and probably when we are halfway through the hackathon, we now come together to share ideas and notebooks. And why I would say this actually helps us is when we start out differently without sharing ideas at first or working together closely, as it were, we are able to approach the problem in very diverse ways, right? So I do not have any influence on my teammates' approach towards the problem, right? So he's seeing the problem from a different perspective. I'm seeing the problem from a different perspective, and I'm not able to influence his decisions. And when we are halfway through the hackathon, and we now sit down to share ideas of what we've done so far, we are now able to, concatenate quality ideas because, we've been thinking for so long, right? We're able to combine those quality ideas together and make a final powerful submission. And also ensembling each other's models as well and scores actually also helps in a big way during the hackathon. Yeah, so I would say, yeah, that's our own approach as a team. And yeah, there are no arguments at all.
Wow, that's a unicorn. Dancing.
Yeah, okay. So basically, what you mentioned is right. So we start individually. Then once we have a unique and different approach, we come up with how to work together as a team. So most times, Prof does modeling. So I do feature engineering, and so I just provide features for Prof, and then he does a lot of the modeling, then assembling also. So that's how we work, and then that's how it has been since.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. So if you're ever thinking about joining a team, as we have had, there's a bit of diversity in the ideas, and that enables them to come together and build a perfect model. So yes, I think that is an amazing thing that you can work on. So I want to also forward this question out to Lawrence. Like when you're participating now alone, what are some of the challenges you face? Don't you get discouraged or just to leave the competition half? I know sometimes I've ever done like a hackathon and I'm like, hey, I've spent my whole day here. It's about time. So do you have those challenges, or how do you work around them to pushing your submissions?
So one of the challenges that I can see, especially for Umojahack, so it's like that's like a limited, the duration. It's like a very limited duration. It's not like a 2 months or 1 month or something. So it's like 2 days maximum. So, and you feel like at times you have like a couple of ideas, like several ideas, but like that's like a challenge of like time. So, and at times, so you have like a couple of ideas, you try like a few of them, there's no like improvement in performance, and the time is already also like moving as well. So I think that is like one of the main challenge, and you feel like there's like a couple of things that you need to try, but you are like restricted by time. So at times you can't do like a thorough like EDA, because if you spend so much time doing EDA, then it means you're not like going to, and you see like a couple of other like competitors have made like 10, 20 submissions and you're still focusing on like EDA. So I think that is one of the challenges. So like the challenge of like a limited time, and as well, so there's like, I think that is like one of the main challenges. And I think that is the main challenge that I can say.
Okay, say that. Thank you. Victor and Danson, do you have any challenges that you face as you go through the hackathon as a team or individually?
Well, for me, I would say it's always the rush, right? As Lawrence has mentioned, there's limited time, and not just limited time. People are also moving, right? So time is moving. People are moving upwards as well. So you are first stand in the next 10 minutes. You are number 5. If you wait again for the next 15 minutes, you find yourself way down. Yeah, so I would say that's somewhat a bit of a hassle. It means that why some are sleeping, some are still actively working on the challenge, right? So I do not know how Lawrence does it, but for me, I'm able to bank on my team, work for a few times, and go and rest, and trust that my other teammates would pick some work during the remaining time. Yeah, but kudos to those that go solo for Umojahack.
Okay, Dancing.
Yeah, well, basically that's just a similar challenge that I do face. When I discovered that I'm not improving my results on scores on the leaderboard, and others are So despair is kind of coming, and then discouragement. So most times we just, okay, since I have a team member here, try to work on this, let's do this together. Then most of the ideas that you start with, you start forgetting if you don't write them down. So it is important, as Lawrence said, to write them down, those ideas that you had at the start of the competition, so that you won't forget and then you remember very late or end at the end of the competition. So that's just that's it.
Oh, awesome. Thank you guys for sharing the challenges that you face. So I'll just pick a question from one of the participants and either of you can answer. So to get high scores, does it mean you have to make many submissions? Like, do you need to make like a lot of submissions to get a high score? Or yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll try to answer this. So it doesn't matter, like taking an example from the last year's hackathon. So actually I didn't start like participating on the first day. So because like the previous 2 years, like the hackathons that were before last year's hackathon, I remember they were like a day. No, I think the first year, I think that was in 2020, it was like a single day, 8 hours, I think. And then I think 2021, I can't remember, but last year, so like in my mind, I thought like it's like going to be like a 1-day hackathon. So then I woke up on Sunday and I found like still like the competition. I just wanted like to check how many people are like who are the winners. And then I found like the hackathon is going on. So I met like the first submission early in the morning, and then I got like to the 9th position, and then I made like the second submission, and I came like to the first position. Like with two submissions, I got to the first position. So it doesn't matter with like the number of submissions that you make. So what matters is how good are you able to understand the problem, and how good did you do like the modeling. So it doesn't matter. So the like for you to finish first, it's not like dependent on the number of submissions that you make, but rather how you understand the problem and the approach that you use to solve it.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that. I would be spending like 50 my day 50 submissions a day, or the limit. Victor and Dancing, do you have any response to that, or how does that work for you guys?
No, I mean that's very correct. So it does not actually matter, the number of submissions you make. There are as there's something very important that Lawrence just mentioned now. Yeah, it's actually dependent on how good you actually approach the problem and do the modeling, right? So some people spend a lot of time watching their local score on their PC before going further to make submissions, right? And for me personally, I always like to make a submission on time, just to have a sense of the baseline, right? So what it actually, what the baseline looks like on the Zindi leaderboard, right? So, but subsequently, you can work locally on your system, and when you notice some drastic improvements via your cross validation, etc., you can now go ahead to make submissions. Yeah, so I would say not at all. You can even make one submission and be the winner of the Umojahack. That's actually possible as well. Yeah, so.
Thanks, Victor. Dancing?
Yeah, so well, I don't have much to say. The number of submission doesn't mean the more you submit doesn't mean you have higher scores. So it is more likely going to be you understanding the problem and building a solution that ensures that okay, you really understand the problem statements as Lawrence mentioned.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess that question has been answered. It's not about the quantity, but the quality in summarization. So yeah, so I have 2 last questions to ask. So in case you have any questions, I'll just open the room for you to raise your hand or put it on the chat. So my follow-up question would be, I heard you mentioned you do EDA and you spend time on EDA. I just want to ask each of you, like, what's the importance? Sometimes we get into the rush of, oh, I want to start implementing my model after cleaning the data. I don't think there's a relevance for the EDA. Like, why do you spend time doing the EDA? Maybe Dancing, we can start with you.
Okay, so now the EDA is very important to understand the data that you have been given to work on. So most times the first visualization or data analysis that you do is usually on the target, and doing an exploration on the target is important. Number one, if it is a regression problem, you want to find the skewness of your target. Is it left skewed or right skewed? And then once it is not in normal distribution, do you want to apply a transformation? You want to apply log transformation or normalization? Understand? So for example, now if it is a classification problem and you find you do exploratory analysis on which of them is having the classes anyway, and then you discover that there's very high imbalance in the target. Okay, so it informs you on your decision making process. Do I want to perform upsampling, downsampling? So yeah, that's just for just understanding how your target looks like using data analysis and EDA. You are able to inform your decision making process. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Dancing. Lawrence and Victor.
Okay, so yes, I can connect. So one of the key things when doing like EDA, so the key things that you need to figure out is you need to get like some insights. So these are some of the insights that are going to guide you in doing like your feature engineering, or even like coming up with a good validation strategy. And as well, so at times it's going to show you like some relationship between like variables. And at times, for example, some things at times, if you don't do like a good EDA, at times you may find like the training data is like somewhat different from the test data. And then you try to ask like some questions, how do you bring them back like to be like almost like normal? So at times you can have like some things like you need to see like how is the trend, like some trends, how they look like. So at times, for example, in time series, so you might have like some upward trend, some downward trend, or some constant trend. And at times, if you don't do like an EDA, at times, for example, even like not only like on competitions, but also like on industry. So especially like the industry that I'm working on so at times you find like maybe some specific months where you have like some spikes, and so like some models that you use, so they may not necessarily capture these spikes unless like you create like some features that are able to capture these spikes. So another thing is at times, so there are like anomalies in like that is almost given. So there are like some anomalies. So how do you like identify these anomalies? So the best way that you can like see whether like your data has some anomalies is also like doing like some EDA. So EDA is going to enable you come up with some insights. So these insights will help you like do several things, like do a good like validation strategy, do like what features you can come up with, and as well even like reporting. So at times, if not only like on like a competition, but
one format if you get P square.
Okay, I think somebody is.
Oh, sorry.
Not
Just
muted.
Okay.
Yes, as I was saying, so at times, not only in competitions, but like on the industry, so you need to communicate with like your stakeholders. So the best way that you can communicate to them is not like just giving them like the final model, that this is the model and this is the result. So you need to communicate, and the way you can communicate them is like by sharing the insights that you came up with while you're doing like your EDA. So I think that's like a short brief on why like EDA is very important.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lawrence. Victor, anything to add on that?
Yeah, sorry. Can you still hear me fine? Just checking.
Yes.
Oh, all right. Yeah. So for my own perspective as well, I mean, data visualization as well as other exploration analysis are very important. just as Dunsi has mentioned, transforming, the targets is something you actually want to watch for, right? If it's a categorical data set, you want to know if they are balanced or not, because that would inform you to now use, other imbalance techniques to actually approach the problem. And if it's a regression problem, you want to know how skewed the nature of, the data is, then what sort of transformation you need to apply. And actually, the reason why I'm even particular about those two is because that actually helped us a big deal in the last Umojahack hackathon, and some of others other visuals as well that I'm particular about personally is the feature importance, right? And you want to know what features are most important for you, or what the model thinks is the most important feature in your data. And if you do not do all those EDA, you will not know how to progress regards your transformations, your what's it called now, your feature engineering, and even as simple as correlation features in your data, right? So those are things actually very important because they will inform you of the next decisions to take as regards feature engineering.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Thank you all our speakers for sharing about EDA. And yeah, as we really need to be looking into it and learning more about our data and the patterns within our data using EDA. So let's use it as a step to improve also our feature engineering processes. So I would like to invite anyone who has a question to put it on the chat or raise your hand before I pose the last question. Speakers, anyone who has a question that they would like to be answered? You're being asked how much did each of you get? I think they got a good amount of money. Any other question? Okay. In case you have any questions, I will share their LinkedIn bios via email, and you can reach out to them and inquire. Okay, so there's a question. Do you have any guesses as to what the challenges are going to be? So you can put that in the chat if any one of our participants have like a guess. It's very exciting of what you will get through the hackathons that are coming up. So put your guesses there. I personally can't tweet. I'm just hiding in the back end. Okay, so my last question is, how did you find the experience? Was it rewarding? Did you learn? Did you grow as a data scientist? Like, what impact comes out of participating from Umojahack, genuinely speaking? You can start with dancing.
Okay, so I really found the experience very, very rewarding because number one, I was able to learn a lot and understand some perspectives, such way that okay, given this data, I'm able to understand other ideas and what is happening actually. Then due to this competition, I was able to get an internship position actually. So it was a very rewarding experience at least, and then I've been able to grow really well as a data scientist, and then yeah, that's just.
Thank you, Danson, for sharing that, and I'm really glad it was a gateway for you as a data scientist, and it learned. Maybe we can get to you, Victor.
Oh yeah, the experience itself, the Umojahack is actually awesome. Aside the funds, I mean, the cash prizes are actually very interesting as well. And I got to even, enjoy myself with them. And yeah, but, aside, just cash prizes and the whole rush of, participating in the Umojahack, I also personally, learned, new methods and new approach, via the hackathon and via, participating with my teammates, right? And one other thing I think the Umojahack, actually helps you with is you get more confidence, right, to participate in, upcoming competitions, especially if, you try to rank, I mean, as a beginner, top 50, right? You're encouraged to actually do more, and you know that you're actually, growing in your data science journey. And also, there's something that is very interesting, is that, participating in the Umojahack means that you are competing in the whole of Africa, right? And it means that, when you get good scores for yourself, it shows that you actually know what you're doing, right? And, that actually boosts your, let me say, confidence personally, and, did for me. And lastly, as Dunsin has mentioned, out of the last year Umojahack as well, we're able to, secure an internship with one of the sponsors, where we were able to, deploy the winning model we actually used for the Umojahack hackathon. And I mean, that itself, the experience and the takeaway from there was quite something. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Thank you so much, Victor, for sharing that. Lauren?
So I think they have already like said a lot. So aside from, of course, it's like fun, the experience is fun, especially if you're like competing for the first time. So, or maybe you have done like a few competitions prior to like the Umojahack. So this time, like you have like a couple of like thousands of students. So in the first 5 minutes, so you're like number 10, and then when you relax for like a few hours or a few minutes, and then you notice like you are not even on the top 10. So it's fun. As the first thing, it's like fun. The experience is like good. And then aside from the cash prices as well, which is like a motivating factor, especially when like you are a student. And then speaking not only like for the Umojahack, actually participating on Zindi competition. So I remember there's a time like I used to, while I was like when I was doing my undergraduate, so I used to participate a lot. And like the recognition that you get not only like on the platform, you will find like some people like send you messages on like LinkedIn, like probably nowadays. Initially there wasn't like a messaging like option on like Zindi. So and I got like a couple of invitations, like some of them will invite you for coffee, probably in cafes. I can't remember like the number of cafes I was invited to, like with some people we had never met before, just because like they saw my performance on Zindi, and some of them probably they might be like watching. I remember there's a time like I got like somebody sent me a message. He told me, hey, I saw like you worked on this particular problem, and currently we have like some problem that you are working that is related to with like what you are working on. So, and I got like to work with the guy. So there's like a couple of other like things. Some of them they might not be like directly, but they might be like indirect. And I remember also like my first internship I got like when I was still undergraduate, it was basically through like my participation on Zindi. So there's like a couple of things that you might miss to get like the cash prices, but like maybe days later you might like get something else. After all, at the end, like you will as well like learn something. So I even like once in a while, anytime like I have like a problem that I'm working on, because I remember there's a time like I was participating like almost every competition once it has been launched. So I'm the first person to work on it, and I spent like a couple of like days working on like the same problem, trying like different ideas. So nowadays, like I usually have like a library of like my previous like solutions. So I usually like go back to my solution and try to see like what ideas I specifically applied like on a particular challenge, and at least we have like something to get started from. So after all, like you will like at the end you will not lose like anything. At the end you are going to gain like something.
Awesome. I mean, I think that was really well summarized from all our speakers. You get to learn, opportunities will be there, and you don't lose anything. You can either win money or you can get the experience, you can get the knowledge, you can always build up your skills as a data scientist. So I think that was really awesome. I don't know if there's anyone with a question, but I think it's very inspiring to hear about the amazing work that they've been doing, the hackathons that they've been going through. And I think this 2023 will have more participation. And just so that you guys can get to hear more about the hackathons real quick, we have a WhatsApp group that's the Zindi community group, and you can just log in. We'll be sharing opportunities there for you and hackathons that you can plug into. As we mentioned, we have the Umojahack on the 18th and 19th of March 2023, and we will share the bios of our speakers, and you can reach out to them in case you have any questions. But thank you so much, Lawrence, Victor, and Dancing, for your contribution, for sharing your experiences and even your tips and tricks. I personally will definitely, and I advocate for you guys to also jump into groups. And I am here to motivate my female ladies to be part of this group that is winning. So I hope I'll be able to be part of it so that we can do our best to top up, to top the competitions, or just work together and have some mentorship here and there. So thank you so much. I don't know if we have any other questions. If not, I'll share the recording via email and all the bios of our speakers so that you can reach out to them. In case you have any questions, you can get to them via that platform. But I'm grateful for everyone who has been able to join and the time that you've spent. Again, sign up for Umojahack and also join our WhatsApp group. We'll be sharing more about that there. And yeah, looking forward to hosting in other sessions that we'll be having. For March, we'll be having a women in data themed kind of competition. So looking forward to having all our allies and women in tech joining in, and we'll have amazing speakers coming up. So yes, I think that's it from me. Do we have anything else from our speakers of the day? Darius, Amy, Lawrence, Victor, Dancing, before we close?
Not at all, but just as a side note, one of the winners, I mean, specifically first place in one of the categories was actually female, right? So that shows that, yeah, females are actually also empowered in, competitions such as Umojahack.
Awesome, awesome. Thanks for sharing. Any other? Okay, great. If we don't have any other, can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible, Rose.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I think my screen just went blank. But thank you so much for joining in. And I'll share the recording after the session, most probably tomorrow, so that you can go back on what was said. And looking forward to hosting each and every one of you in the next month. And looking forward to having you join the Umojahack. So have your ears open for the challenges that are coming up. I know Amy is filled with joy to just share the hackathon so that you guys can get ready to work on them. So thank you so much and have a good evening and afternoon from wherever you're joining us. And we'll get back to you in the coming days about Umojahack. Yes. Thank you and have a good evening. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.